The twin suns of Tatooine burn overhead as you stand in Mos Eisley's dusty cantina, nursing a drink that tastes like rust and regret. Outside, stormtroopers patrol the streets with mechanical precision, their white armor gleaming like polished bone under the relentless heat. The Empire's grip on this forgotten world is absolute, another outer rim planet crushed beneath the boot of tyranny. But today, something impossible tears through the sky. A dark shape screams through the atmosphere, trailing fire and smoke, crashing into the dune sea with a shockwave that rattles every window in the spaceport. You feel it in your chest, a tremor of something new entering a galaxy already drowning in war. The crash site draws scavengers like womp rats to carrion. Jawas scramble across the sand, their glowing eyes fixed on the smoking crater. Imperial probe droids hover overhead, transmitting data back to the nearest Star Destroyer. But when the smoke clears, what emerges isn't another crashed TIE fighter or smuggler's freighter. It's a man. He rises from the wreckage wearing armor darker than the void between stars, sleek, angular, utterly alien. No blaster marks his belt, no lightsaber hangs at his hip, just strange devices, weapons you don't recognize, and a cape that billows in the desert wind like a shadow given form. The Jawas flee. The probe droids circle closer, confused. This is Batman, and he's just fallen into the Star Wars universe during the height of the Galactic Empire's reign. The year is 3 AB, after the Battle of Yavin, after the Death Star's destruction, when the rebellion still bleeds from 1,000 wounds, and the Empire hunts survivors with religious fury. Into this galaxy of endless war, political machinations, and the mystical force, a vigilante from another reality has crashed like a meteor. He carries no connection to the Force. He wields no ancient powers, just training, technology, and an unbreakable will forged in the alleys of Gotham. The question isn't whether he'll survive, it's what his presence will do to a galaxy already tearing itself apart. Word spreads fast across the holonet. Imperial intelligence officers watch surveillance footage of the crash, analyzing every frame. In the deep core, Grand Moff Tarkin's successor reviews reports of an unidentified combatant who disabled 12 stormtroopers in Mos Eisley without killing a single one. Admiral Piet receives orders from Darth Vader himself, locate this anomaly and bring him to the Executor. Meanwhile, rebel spies on Tatooine transmit urgent messages to High Command. Mon Mothma leans forward in her seat as she watches the grainy hologram. This stranger moves like nothing they've encountered, faster than a Jedi, more precise than an assassin droid. He vanishes into shadows that shouldn't exist under Tatooine's twin suns. Batman crouches on a sandstone outcropping, scanning the horizon with technology that makes Imperial sensors look primitive. His cowl's lenses analyze heat signatures, electromagnetic frequencies, and atmospheric composition. This isn't Gotham. The architecture is wrong. The technology both advanced and archaic. The very air tastes different. Through his helmet's heads-up display, he catalogs threats, military patrols, civilian infrastructure, authoritarian governance patterns. He recognizes tyranny when he sees it. The stormtroopers, the public executions, the fear in every citizen's eyes. This empire isn't so different from the worst crime syndicates in Gotham, just scaled to galactic proportions. His jaw tightens. He came here by accident, torn from his own universe by something he still doesn't understand. But while he's here, he won't stand idle. The Force itself seems to shudder. On Dagobah, Master Yoda's eyes snap open in his meditation. He feels it, a disturbance, but not of darkness or light. Something outside the cosmic balance entirely. a variable the Force never accounted for. Luke Skywalker, training in the swamps, senses his master's concern but doesn't understand it. On the Executor, Darth Vader pauses mid-stride. Through the dark side, he perceives an anomaly, a blank space where presence should exist. Not emptiness like the Yuuzhan Vong. Not absence like Force-dead creatures. Something else. A being who operates outside the Force's influence entirely. It disturbs him more than he'll admit. If you want to see how a vigilante with no Force powers survives in a galaxy ruled by Sith Lords and mystical warriors, you need to keep watching. Because what happens next will force the Empire, the Rebellion, and every Force user in existence to confront an uncomfortable truth, that sometimes the most dangerous threats come, not from the dark side or the light, but from someone who refuses to play by the galaxy's rules at all. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this alternate timeline is about to get brutal. The first encounter happens at dusk. A squad of stormtroopers corners a Twi'lek family in an alley, demanding identification and credits. Standard Imperial harassment, the kind that happens 1,000 times a day across occupied worlds. But before the sergeant can raise his blaster, darkness swallows them whole. The stormtroopers fire blindly into smoke that shouldn't exist, their helmet sensors scrambled by electromagnetic interference. One by one, they fall, not dead, but unconscious, their armor cracked but their vitals stable. When the smoke clears, the Twi'lek family stares at empty armor scattered across the ground. Above them, on a rooftop, a silhouette disappears into the night. The Dark Knight has entered the Star Wars galaxy, and the galaxy will never be the same. The Imperial garrison on Tatooine erupts into chaos within hours. Commander Vett stands in the command center, watching security hollows replay the impossible. 23 stormtroopers incapacitated across 4 districts. 0 fatalities, 0 blaster wounds. Just unconscious soldiers with shattered armor plating and fractured bones, their helmet cams showing nothing but static and darkness before they fell. Medical droids report identical symptoms, precise strikes to nerve clusters, concussive trauma, designed to disable, not destroy. This isn't how battles work in the Star Wars galaxy. When you fight the Empire, people die. Blasters burn through flesh, lightsabers cauterize as they kill. But this attacker operates on different rules entirely, and that terrifies the Empire more than any rebel assault. You watch from a crowded marketplace as the Imperial response unfolds. ETSTs stomp through Mos Eisley's streets, their chin-mounted blasters tracking every shadow. Stormtroopers move in squads of 8 now, never fewer, their fingers tight on triggers. The fear palpable. These soldiers who've crushed planetary rebellions and executed civilians without hesitation now jump at every unexpected sound. They're hunting something they don't understand, and the not knowing eats at them. Street vendors whisper rumors in Huttese and Basic. Some say it's a Jedi survivor hiding their lightsaber. Others claim it's a new rebel superweapon, a prototype assassin droid. None of them guess the truth, that a vigilante from another universe is systematically dismantling their occupiers without shedding a drop of blood. Batman watches the Imperial response from his temporary base in the abandoned moisture farm. He spent 72 hours analyzing this galaxy's power structures, technology, and social dynamics. His gauntlet computer has cracked Imperial encryption protocols, primitive by Gotham standards, almost laughably vulnerable. He's intercepted communications between Star Destroyers, mapped garrison locations across 3 sectors, identified supply routes and patrol patterns. The Empire rules through fear and overwhelming force, but they're sloppy, overconfident. They expect enemies to fight conventionally, armies against armies, fleets against fleets. They've never faced someone who strikes from darkness, who turns their own infrastructure against them, who makes them afraid of their own shadows. On the Executor, Darth Vader reviews the reports with growing interest. Captain Piet stands rigid before him, sweating beneath his uniform as he delivers the briefing. "My lord, our analysts believe this may be a Force-sensitive individual, possibly a surviving Jedi using advanced stealth techniques." Vader's respirator hisses, the only sound in the observation deck as stars streak past. He can feel Piet's fear, taste it through the Force like copper on his tongue. But the captain is wrong. Vader has hunted Jedi across the galaxy for 2 decades. He knows their patterns, their tactics, their desperation. This is something else, something that doesn't register in the Force at all. Not hidden, not suppressed, but simply absent. As if reality itself has a blind spot. "Dispatch the Inquisitors," Vader commands, "and increase the bounty. 1 million credits for capture. Alive." Piet salutes and retreats, relief flooding through him at surviving the encounter. Vader turns to the viewport, his reflection ghostly in the transparastil. The dark side whispers warnings he doesn't fully comprehend. This anomaly represents something dangerous, not to the Empire's military might necessarily, but to the fundamental order of things. The Force has guided the Sith and Jedi for millennia, an invisible hand shaping galactic destiny. But what happens when someone who exists outside that paradigm enters the equation? What happens when the Force cannot predict, cannot influence, cannot even perceive someone's actions? The Rebel Alliance faces similar confusion. On the medical frigate Redemption, Princess Leia Organa studies intelligence reports with General Regan. Their agents on Tatooine have confirmed the attacks, Imperial forces systematically disabled without casualties. Mon Mothma's hologram flickers in the center of the strategy table, her expression thoughtful. "Could this be a potential ally?" she asks. Leia shakes her head slowly, her diplomat's mind working through scenarios. The rebellion needs every advantage, every weapon against the Empire. But this unknown factor hasn't made contact, hasn't declared allegiances. For all they know, this could be an Imperial trap, or a third party with their own agenda. Still, anyone making stormtroopers afraid to patrol in groups smaller than 8 has earned a conversation at minimum. Batman strikes again at midnight. An Imperial supply convoy rolls through Beggar's Canyon, hauling weapons and armor to the garrison. The lead driver sees nothing before his controls go dark. Electromagnetic pulse, localized and precise. The convoy skids to a halt, engines dead, communications severed. Then he's there, dropping from the canyon walls like a demon given form. The escort stormtroopers fire, their blaster bolts illuminating the darkness in crimson streaks. But he's already moving, cape snapping, as he weaves between shots that should be impossible to dodge. Batarangs, strange throwing weapons shaped like flying creatures, strike exposed joints and weapon systems. Smoke pellets detonate. In 90 seconds, it's over. The convoy sits empty, its cargo missing, its soldiers unconscious and dreaming of shadows. By dawn, the entire garrison knows the thing hunting them doesn't just fight, it terrifies. It takes Imperial supplies and distributes them to civilians. It appears where it's impossible to appear and vanishes where there's nowhere to hide. It moves like it knows every weakness in their armor, every flaw in their tactics, every predictable response in their training. The stormtroopers start calling it the Wraith. Command officers insist there's a rational explanation, some rebel trick or smuggler alliance. But the soldiers in the streets know better. They've seen things, glimpses of darkness that moves with intelligence, armor that absorbs blaster fire, eyes that glow white in the blackness. Blind seamen, something from beyond their galaxy has arrived, and it's decided the Empire is its enemy. The Inquisitors arrive on Tatooine, like carrion birds descending on a corpse. You see their shuttle land at the Imperial garrison, sleek, black, radiating malevolence. Izuri, Wandamit Abdia, its stom, Wunshu Fury. The third sister emerges first, her yellow eyes scanning the crowd with predatory hunger. Behind her, the fifth brother and seventh sister follow, their red lightsabers igniting in broad daylight as a demonstration. These are the Empire's Jedi hunters, Force-sensitive Inquisitors trained by Vader himself to root out survivors of Order 66. They've tortured information from Padawans, executed masters, and broken entire rebel cells through fear alone. The garrison commander greets them with visible relief. Finally, experts who understand the mystical. Finally, someone who can hunt what stormtroopers cannot catch. But the Inquisitors have no idea what they're actually hunting. Batman observes their arrival from 2 kilometers away, his cowl's enhanced optics tracking every movement. He's compiled a database on these Force users, their abilities, limitations, psychological profiles, extracted from intercepted communications. They can sense emotions through something called the Force, predict movements, deflect energy weapons with those plasma blades. Formidable, but not invincible. Every combatant has weaknesses, and Batman has made a career of exploiting them. The Force grants precognition, but his technology scrambles conventional sensing methods. They expect enemies to carry blasters or lightsabers, to fight with weapons that emit energy signatures. His equipment operates on principles this galaxy doesn't recognize. One to Deuce, Izia. Sus. He watches the Inquisitors spread out through Mos Eisley, their arrogance palpable, even from this distance. They think they're hunting prey. They don't realize they've become it. The third sister reaches out through the Force, her consciousness spreading like dark fingers across the settlement. She feels fear everywhere. Civilians terrified of Imperial reprisal, stormtroopers anxious about the mysterious attacker, merchants worried about business, normal background emotions of an occupied world. But nowhere does she sense the Wraith's presence. No Force signature, no emotional resonance, no disturbance in the cosmic flow. It's as if the target doesn't exist at all. She frowns, reaching deeper, pushing her perception to its limits. Still nothing. The fifth brother experiences the same emptiness. For Force users who've spent their lives perceiving the galaxy through mystical senses, encountering something completely absent from that perception is deeply unsettling. It's like trying to see a shadow in absolute darkness. Perhaps the target is Force dead, the seventh sister suggests, her voice cold as vacuum, like the Yuuzhan Vong in ancient records. The third sister shakes her head. The reports describe impossible agility, technology that shouldn't exist, tactical brilliance that suggests high intelligence. Not the characteristics of Force-dead creatures. This is something else, something their training never prepared them for. She activates her conlink. All units, standard sweep pattern. The target must be using stealth technology. We'll flush them out. Stormtroopers deploy across the city, going door to door, dragging citizens into the street for questioning. The Inquisitors believe overwhelming force and brutality will smoke out their prey. They're wrong. Batman moves through Mos Eisley's underbelly like smoke. He's mapped every sewer tunnel, ventilation shaft, abandoned building, and blind spot in the surveillance grid. The Inquisitors are searching methodically, but they're searching wrong. They assume their target hides like a frightened Jedi, cowering in some secret location. Batman doesn't hide. He positions. Right now, he's beneath the main garrison, planting charges on the power distribution network. Not to kill, never to kill, but to create chaos when he needs it. His gauntlet computer tracks Inquisitor movements through hacked security feeds. They're spreading out, making themselves vulnerable. Good. He's faced mystical threats before. Zatanna, Constantine, even the demon's head himself. These Force users are dangerous, but they're also predictable. They rely on their powers like crutches. When those powers fail, they're just people with glowing swords. The trap springs at dusk. The fifth brother pursues a tip into the warehouse district, his massive frame moving with surprising speed. His Force senses detect something, not a presence exactly, but an absence that draws attention like a void in space. He ignites his lightsaber, its crimson glow, illuminating stacks of cargo containers. "I know you're here, Wraith," he calls out, his voice resonating with dark side power. The Force reveals all you cannot hide from. The lights die. Emergency systems activate, bathing everything in red, and then Batman strikes. The batarang hits the fifth brother's lightsaber hand with precise force. Not enough to break bones, but enough to make him drop the weapon. Smoke floods the warehouse. The Inquisitor reaches out through the Force, trying to predict the next attack. But there's nothing to predict. No emotional signature to track. No future to glimpse. Just darkness and pain. Batman's combat style is surgical. He doesn't try to match the Inquisitor's strength. The man is enhanced through Force augmentation, far beyond baseline human capacity. Instead, Batman targets joints, nerve clusters, sensory organs. Flashbang grenades overload the fifth brother's vision. Sonic emitters disrupt his balance. Electrical shocks from the gauntlet's Force muscle contractions. Every attack is calculated, exploiting the biological limitations that even Force users can't escape. The fifth brother roars, using telekinesis to hurl cargo containers. But Batman's already gone, grappling to the ceiling, dropping impact gel from above. Within 2 minutes, the Inquisitor is on his knees, gasping, his lightsaber deactivated, and skittering across the floor. Batman stands over him, silhouetted against the red emergency lights. "Tell your Empire," he says, his voice modulated to sound inhuman, "that Terra works both ways." The third sister finds her colleague unconscious, bound with strange metallic cords. His armor cracked but his vitals stable. She stares at the scene, her yellow eyes wide, with something she rarely experiences: uncertainty. Whoever did this defeated a trained Force user in single combat without killing them. The restraint is almost more terrifying than the violence. It suggests control, planning, a moral framework that doesn't align with Sith or Jedi philosophy. She activates her emergency beacon, calling the seventh sister and requesting immediate backup. But as she does, she feels it, the weight of invisible eyes watching from the darkness. The Wraith hasn't fled. It's still here, observing, analyzing, learning. The hunt has reversed, and the Inquisitors are no longer the hunters. 12:05 a.m. Mon Mothma's hologram flickers in the abandoned rebel safe house on Tatooine, her expression grave as she addresses the field agents. You crouch in the shadows of the adjacent building, your macro binoculars trained on the meeting through the window. These rebels are careful. Sensor jammers, encrypted communications, rotating guard shifts. They've survived this long because they understand operational security. But you've been tracking their movements for days, learning their patterns, waiting for this moment. Mon Mothma speaks of the Wraith, the mysterious figure who's crippled Imperial operations on 3 worlds now. Tatooine was just the beginning. Reports flood in from Ryloth, Lothal, Corellia. Imperial garrisons found unconscious, weapons shipments hijacked, political prisoners freed from detention centers. The rebellion desperately wants to make contact. They need allies, they need hope, and you're about to give them both. Batman drops through the skylight with calculated precision, landing in the center of the room before anyone can react. Rebel soldiers snap blasters toward him, fingers on triggers, but he's already analyzing. 12 combatants, various species, mixed combat training, nervous energy radiating from their body language. They're exhausted, underfed, running on borrowed time, and desperate hope. He raises his hand slowly, a gesture of non-aggression, though the weapons in his belt could incapacitate everyone in 3 seconds if necessary. "I'm not your enemy," he says, his voice deep and controlled. The room erupts in shouted questions and demands. Mon Mothma's hologram turns toward him, and even through the blue flicker, he sees her diplomatic mask slip for just a moment. She's surprised. Good. Surprise creates openness to negotiation. "You're the Wraith," Mon Mothma states, recovering her composure with impressive speed. "We've been trying to contact you for weeks. The Empire has placed a 2 million credit bounty on your head. Half the bounty hunters in the Outer Rim are searching for you." Batman remains still, his white eyes glowing in the dim light. He's run the calculations. The rebellion represents the closest thing to a legitimate resistance against this Empire's tyranny. But he's seen resistance movements before. Some noble, some corrupted, all complicated. In Gotham, he learned that fighting crime means understanding every player, every angle, every consequence. This galaxy is no different. "I've been observing your operations," he says. "Your tactics are sound, but your resources are inadequate. You're fighting a war. You can't win through conventional means." The room temperature drops. Rebel soldiers bristle at the assessment, pride wounded, but Captain Rex, a grizzled clone trooper with Republic experience, steps forward, his scarred face thoughtful. "He's right," Rex says quietly. "We've known that since Scarif, since Hoth. The Empire has virtually unlimited resources. Millions of soldiers, thousands of Star Destroyers. We survive through hit-and-run tactics, and hope that eventually the galaxy will rise up. But hope doesn't win wars." Batman nods once, acknowledging the soldier's honesty. He's researched this Rex, a veteran of something called the Clone Wars, a man who's fought for decades and understands military reality. "Hope doesn't win wars," Batman agrees, "but fear can lose them. The Empire rules through terror. Make them afraid, and their foundation cracks." Mon Mothma's hologram leans forward, her political instincts engaging. "You've certainly made them afraid. Our intelligence suggests Darth Vader himself is en route to Tatooine. You've accomplished in weeks what would take us months of military operations. But you've also refused every attempt at contact until now. Why?" Batman considers his answer carefully. In Gotham, he worked alone, trusting few, maintaining complete operational control. But this galaxy operates on a different scale. One vigilante, no matter how skilled, cannot dismantle a galactic empire. He needs intelligence, infrastructure, support networks, and the rebellion needs what he brings: tactics, technology, and the psychological warfare expertise that can make the Empire paranoid and unstable. I needed to understand who you are, he finally answers, whether you're worth fighting for, and your conclusion. Mon Mothma asks, her tone carefully neutral, though he detects tension in her shoulders, anticipation in her breathing patterns. Batman pulls a data chip from his belt, tossing it to Rex, who catches it with reflexes that betray his combat experience. That chip contains Imperial patrol routes, garrison locations, supply line vulnerabilities, and communication encryption protocols for the entire Arcanus sector. Consider it a down payment. The room explodes in shocked mutters. That kind of intelligence would take rebel networks months to gather and verify. Mon Mothma's eyes widen fractionally, the first genuine surprise he's seen from the politician. In exchange, Batman continues, I need access to your intelligence network, technical resources, and galactic navigation data. I need to understand this galaxy if I'm going to help you free it. The negotiations last for hours. Batman explains his capabilities without revealing his origins. Better they think he's some unknown species or experimental enhanced operative. He demonstrates technology that leaves the rebel engineers speechless. Grappling hooks that defy gravity, explosive gel that can breach blast doors, sensors that can detect life signs through solid durasteel. In return, the rebellion shares their intelligence on Imperial leadership, Force user capabilities, and the political dynamics that shape galactic conflict. Captain Rex provides military insight. Mon Mothma outlines their strategic objectives. By dawn, an informal alliance has formed. Batman won't join the rebellion formally. He maintains operational independence, refuses military rank, insists on veto power over missions that violate his no-kill rule, but he'll support their operations, share intelligence, strike where they cannot. As the meeting concludes and rebel agents prepare to evacuate the safe house, Mon Mothma's hologram lingers. You still haven't told us who you are, she observes quietly. Where you came from. What drives you to fight an empire you have no connection to? Batman moves toward the skylight, preparing to vanish back into the darkness. He pauses, looking back at the hologram. In his mind, he sees Gotham's alleys, his parents bleeding on the pavement, the promise he made to wage war on injustice wherever it festers. This galaxy is different, but tyranny wears the same face everywhere. I'm what the Empire should fear, he says simply. I'm the night. Then he's gone, grappling into the pre-dawn darkness, leaving the rebels staring at empty air and wondering what force of nature they've just allied themselves with. The Executor drops out of hyperspace above Tatooine, like a dagger pressed against the galaxy's throat. You feel its presence even from the surface, a massive arrowhead of metal and menace, so large it eclipses the system's sun for miles of planetary curvature. Darth Vader stands on the command bridge, his respirator breathing rhythmically as stars give way to the desert world's tan atmosphere. He's hunted Jedi Masters across the galaxy, broken rebel cells on a dozen worlds, executed admirals for incompetence with a gesture. But this mission troubles him in ways he won't acknowledge to the crew. The reports describe an opponent who shouldn't exist, someone who defeats Force users without using the Force, who operates outside every tactical paradigm the galaxy knows. Behind his mask, Anakin Skywalker's remaining organic eye narrows. He will have answers. The garrison commander greets Vader with visible terror, sweat beading on his forehead as he delivers the briefing. My lord, we've sustained 47 additional incidents since the Inquisitors arrived. The Wraith disabled the 3rd and 7th Sisters simultaneously 3 days ago, ambushed them in the industrial district. Both survived, but required medical treatment. Vader's hand twitches, and the commander's next words catch in his throat as invisible pressure constricts his windpipe. "You allowed my Inquisitors to be defeated," Vader states, his voice mechanically modulated fury. The commander gasps, fingers clawing at his throat. Captain Piet intervenes from behind, his voice steady despite his own fear. "My lord, perhaps the commander's successor might provide better tactical support." Vader releases his grip. The commander collapses, gasping. "See that he does," Vader says, stepping over the writhing officer without another glance. Batman observes Vader's arrival from a clifftop overlooking Mos Eisley, his cowl's sensors analyzing the Superstar Destroyer's weapon systems and shield configurations. He studied every scrap of intelligence the rebellion provided on Darth Vader, the Emperor's enforcer, a Sith Lord with telekinetic powers capable of crushing starship hulls, lightsaber skills that make the Inquisitors look like children, and a presence in the Force that radiates darkness like a black hole radiates gravity. The hollows show a cybernetic figure, more machine than man, sustained by a life support suit after catastrophic injuries. Batman catalogs the weaknesses: environmental dependencies, respiratory vulnerabilities, potential electromagnetic susceptibilities. Vader is powerful, but power without adaptation creates predictable patterns, and Batman has defeated gods by exploiting their patterns. Vader walks through Mos Eisley's streets, and the city holds its breath. Stormtroopers snap to attention. Civilians flee into buildings. Even the wind seems to die in his presence. He extends his consciousness through the Force, searching for the anomaly that has eluded his Inquisitors. The dark side whispers to him, anger, fear, suffering, flooding through the city, like poison through veins. But nowhere does he sense the Wraith. It's as if the target exists in a pocket universe, adjacent to reality, but separate from the Force's perception. This should be impossible. The Force binds all living things, connects them in an invisible web of energy. Even Force-dead creatures leave a void that can be sensed. But this presence leaves nothing. It's the difference between a shadow and an absence of light itself. Lord Vader, the 3rd sister, approaches, her injuries still visible despite back to treatment. We believe the Wraith uses advanced stealth technology combined with Vader silences her with a raised hand. He doesn't need theories, he needs results. "You will accompany me tonight," he commands. "Bring the 7th sister and every probe droid in the garrison. We will draw this creature out." The 3rd sister bows, relief and anxiety warring in her expression. Hunting with Vader is an honor and a death sentence simultaneously. Succeed and gain his favor. Fail and join the corpses of 1,000 subordinates who disappointed him. As Vader continues his patrol, citizens press themselves against walls, their terror tangible. This is the Empire's true face, not stormtroopers or star destroyers, but this black armored monster who kills with a thought and serves an emperor who commands the dark side itself. The trap is elaborate. Vader positions himself in the central plaza, visible and vulnerable, or appearing so. Probe droids orbit in concentric rings, their sensors sweeping every frequency. The Inquisitors hide on rooftops, their Force sensors extended to maximum range. Stormtrooper squads occupy every exit vector. It's designed to be irresistible bait. Darth Vader, alone, in the open. Every bounty hunter, rebel agent, and fool in the galaxy dreams of killing the Emperor's enforcer. Surely the Wraith will attempt contact or attack. Vader waits as twin suns set and night falls across Tatooine. His breathing is the only sound in the square, that mechanical rhythm marking seconds like a countdown to violence. Behind his mask, he reaches deeper into the dark side, preparing for combat. He's ready for anything, except for what actually happens. Batman doesn't take the bait. Instead, he strikes the Executor itself. While Vader waits planetside, Batman infiltrates the Superstar Destroyer using a stolen Imperial shuttle and forged clearance codes. He studied the ship's design, massive, powerful, but like all Imperial technology, arrogant in its security assumptions. The Empire believes their capital ships are invulnerable to individual infiltration. Batman spent a career infiltrating places people thought impossible to penetrate. He moves through the Executor's corridors like a ghost, avoiding patrols, disabling security systems, leaving behind devices the ship's crew won't discover until it's too late. He's not here to destroy the ship. He's here to send a message. He's here to prove that nowhere is safe, not even Vader's flagship. The message appears simultaneously on every terminal aboard the Executor. Your master hunts shadows while I walk his halls. The Empire's strength is an illusion. Fear is your only power, and I am what you fear. Alarms blare. Officers rush to battle stations. Vader, receiving the transmission planetside, goes utterly still. In that moment, the dark side surges through him like a supernova. Rage so pure it manifests as pressure waves that crack the plaza's stones. Stormtroopers stumble backward. The Inquisitors shield themselves instinctively. Vader has been outmaneuvered, embarrassed, made to look foolish chasing a decoy while his own ship was violated. No one does this to Darth Vader. No one survives such an insult. His voice, when it comes, is cold as the void between stars. Find him. Scour every level. I want the Wraith brought before me. Now, the Executor tears itself apart, searching for an infiltrator who's already gone. You watch from a rebel listening post as Imperial communications explode with panicked transmissions. Deck officers reporting security breaches. Stormtroopers finding unconscious comrades in maintenance corridors. Engineering crews discovering sabotaged systems that won't activate until Vader needs them most. Batman escaped the Superstar Destroyer the same way he entered, using chaos and misdirection, leaving the Empire's most powerful warship paranoid and compromised. The psychological damage exceeds any physical sabotage. Every officer aboard now questions their security. Every stormtrooper jumps at shadows. Vader's flagship, the symbol of Imperial invincibility, has been infiltrated and humiliated. The holonet buzzes with rumors, despite Imperial censorship attempts. The Wraith has become legend. Vader's response is systematic brutality. He executes the Executor's chief security officer with a thought, the man's neck snapping audibly on the bridge. He demotes 3 deck officers to stormtrooper duty. He institutes security protocols so restrictive that ship operations slow to a crawl. Biometric scanners every 15 meters. Constant patrols. Random inspections that leave crew exhausted and terrified. But beneath the rage, Vader's tactical mind works. This Wraith doesn't operate like any opponent he's faced. Jedi strike with righteousness and hope. Sith strike with power and domination. Rebels strike with desperation and numbers. This enemy strikes with precision and psychology, turning the Empire's own infrastructure into a weapon. It's almost the familiar, like fighting a reflection of strategies he once used as Anakin Skywalker during the Clone Wars. The Emperor's hologram appears in Vader's meditation chamber, towering and spectral. "You disappoint me, Lord Vader," Palpatine hisses, his yellow eyes gleaming with malicious interest. "This creature makes fools of my inquisitors and infiltrates your flagship. Perhaps you are not as infallible as you believe." Vader kneels, his respirator the only sound in the darkened chamber. "The Wraith will be found, my master. I have initiated protocols that will flush out any infiltrator." Palpatine's laugh is dry as ancient parchment. Or perhaps this anomaly represents something more interesting. A being untouched by the Force, operating outside our perception. Such a thing could be useful or dangerous. Determine which, Lord Vader. "Before I decide, you are the latter." The hologram vanishes, leaving Vader alone with his failures and his fury. Batman establishes a network across Tatooine and beyond. The rebellion provides safe houses, encrypted communications, and intelligence on Imperial movements. In return, he trains their operatives in infiltration techniques, counter-surveillance, and psychological warfare. Captain Rex watches with professional appreciation as Batman demonstrates how to disable Stormtrooper armor's sealed systems, how to create diversions using Imperial protocols against themselves, how to move through sensor grids by exploiting cognitive biases in security officers. "You fight like a commando," Rex observes after one training session, like the Special Operations units during the Clone Wars, but more brutal. Batman pauses, checking his equipment. "I fight like someone who can't afford to lose. In my experience, that's the only way to win." The conflict escalates across multiple worlds. On Lothal, Batman sabotages an Imperial weapons factory, causing a shutdown that delays Star Destroyer production by 3 months. On Ryloth, he frees Twi'lek prisoners and leaves evidence implicating Imperial officers in embezzlement, turning the Empire's paranoia inward, making them suspect their own people. On Corellia, he disables a communications relay during a critical fleet movement, creating chaos that allows rebel ships to escape an ambush. Each operation is surgical, devastating, and bloodless. The Empire begins to fracture psychologically. Officers question orders, stormtroopers hesitate in combat. The certainty that made Imperial rule absolute begins to crack, and Vader feels every crack like a wound. The confrontation finally comes on Geonosis. Imperial intelligence tracks the Wraith to the abandoned droid foundries, ancient structures from the Clone Wars, perfect for an ambush. Vader arrives with a full legion of the 501st, his personal stormtrooper unit. They deploy through the rust-colored canyons, weapons ready, sensors sweeping. Vader walks point, his lightsaber ignited, casting crimson light across his black armor. He can feel it now, not the Wraith's presence, but the absence of presence, a void in the Force that moves with intelligence and purpose. It's ahead, waiting in the Foundry's depths. This will end tonight. One way or another, Vader will have his answers. He will break this anomaly, dissect its secrets, and prove to the Emperor that nothing, not even beings outside the Force, can challenge Darth Vader. Batman stands in the Foundry's central chamber, surrounded by deactivated battle droids and conveyor systems frozen in rust. His cowl's sensors track Vader's approach, heat signature off the scale, electromagnetic field consistent with lightsaber emissions, movement patterns suggesting combat training at the highest level. He's set traps throughout the facility, explosive gel on support columns, smoke emitters in ventilation shafts, electromagnetic pulse generators hidden in the machinery. But he knows the truth. Traps won't stop Vader. This confrontation requires something more. The Sith Lord enters the chamber, his respirator echoing off metal walls, lightsaber humming with barely contained fury. They stand 50 meters apart, monster and vigilante, darkness and shadow. You have made a grave mistake, Vader says, his voice resonating with dark side power. Coming here, facing me. That man's white eyes glow in the dim light, his cape spreading like wings as he assumes a combat stance. Every fiber of his being screams that this opponent is beyond his capabilities. Telekinesis that can crush bones, precognition that predicts attacks before they happen, a plasma blade that cuts through nearly anything. But Batman didn't become Gotham's protector by accepting what was possible. He became Batman by redefining it. You're right, Batman says, his voice modulated and inhuman. One of us made a mistake tonight, but it wasn't me. He triggers the explosive gel. Support columns detonate simultaneously. The ceiling collapses between them. Tons of metal and stone, creating a barrier that even Vader's telekinesis can't immediately clear. By the time the Sith Lord forces his way through, Batman has vanished into the Foundry's labyrinth. The hunt begins. 12:09 a.m. Vader moves through the Foundry, like death incarnate, his lightsaber carving through ancient machinery. As he hunts, you feel the temperature drop as he passes, the dark side radiating from him like cold fire, making the very air heavy with malevolence. His force senses reach out, probing every shadow, every corridor, searching for the void that marks his prey. Stormtroopers follow at a distance, their weapons ready, but their confidence shattered. They've seen what the Wraith does to squads. They've found their brothers unconscious in pools of their own fear, but Vader doesn't need them. This is personal. This anomaly has embarrassed him before the Emperor, infiltrated his ship, turned Imperial operations into chaos. He will make it suffer. He will make it beg. He will break it completely. Batman watches from the darkness above, clinging to industrial piping 40 meters overhead. His cowl's thermal imaging tracks Vader's movements, the suit's heat signature, the lightsaber's energy output, the accompanying stormtroopers spreading through the lower levels. He studied the Sith Lord's combat footage from captured Imperial recordings. Vader is efficient, brutal, overwhelming. He uses telekinesis to throw opponents into walls, crush their weapons, choke them from across rooms. His lightsaber technique is flawless, form DJEM, so aggressive and powerful, designed to dominate through strength. But every fighting style has weaknesses. DJEM so practitioners commit fully to attacks, using power to overwhelm defense. That commitment creates windows, brief ones, but windows nonetheless. The first trap triggers as Vader rounds a corner. Cryogenic gel, stolen from an Imperial research facility, sprays from hidden nozzles, flash freezing the corridor to -100 degrees in seconds. Normal opponents would freeze solid. Vader's suit insulates him, but the sudden temperature shock forces his respirator to compensate. Audible strain in the breathing rhythm. Batman drops from above, smoke pellets, detonating mid-fall. The Sith Lord reacts instantly, lightsaber sweeping upward, force push exploding outward. But Batman's already redirected, grappling line pulling him sideways as the telekinetic blast pulverizes stone where he was. A batarang strikes Vader's chest plate, electromagnetic pulse discharging. The suit's systems flicker. For one moment, the respirator stutters. Vader staggers, his organic lungs struggling without mechanical support. But only for a moment. Vader's rage manifests as pure force power, a shockwave that clears the smoke and sends debris flying in all directions. His respirator recovers, breathing resuming its mechanical rhythm. He reaches out through the dark side, not searching for presence, but for absence, the negative space where his opponent moves. There, Vader's hand extends, invisible fingers closing around Batman's man's throat through the Force. The vigilante is lifted off his feet, suspended in midair, choking on vacuum pressure. Vader pulls him closer, his lightsaber humming hungrily. "I have crushed Jedi Masters with decades of training," Vader says, his voice cold triumph. "You are nothing, an insect pretending to challenge a god." Batman's hands claw at his throat, feet kicking uselessly. Stormtroopers emerge from cover, weapons trained, victory seeming certain. Batman triggers the dead man switch in his gauntlet. Throughout the Foundry, every device he planted activates simultaneously. Electromagnetic pulses fry electrical systems, smoke generators, flood corridors. Explosive gel detonates structural supports. The building itself becomes a weapon, collapsing inward in a controlled demolition. Batman calculated down to the meter. Vader's concentration breaks as the ceiling above him cracks, forcing him to redirect his telekinesis to protect himself from falling debris. Batman drops, gasping, rolling behind cover as tons of metal crash where he stood. The Force choke left bruises on his throat, damage to his larynx, but he's alive, and Vader is distracted. He vanishes into the chaos, using the confusion exactly as planned. Stormtroopers fire blindly. Vader roars, his fury shaking foundations. The hunt continues deeper into the Foundry's bowels. Vader pursues relentlessly, his determination absolute. He deflects batarangs with casual lightsaber swipes. He crushes remote drones with thought alone. He walks through flame and smoke without slowing. But Batman isn't trying to defeat Vader in direct combat. He's conducting a strategic retreat, leading the Sith Lord exactly where he needs him. Every trap depletes Vader's focus. Every explosion forces energy expenditure. The suit's life support can only compensate for so much environmental stress. Batman learned long ago that you don't fight gods head-on. You make them fight themselves. You exhaust their resources. You force errors through frustration and fatigue. Vader is powerful, but power without restraint becomes predictable. They clash again in the Foundry's reactor chamber, a vast space filled with dormant fusion cores and coolant systems. Batman emerges from the shadows, throwing everything he has. Explosive batarangs, smoke bombs, sonic emitters designed to interfere with auditory processing. Vader deflects or destroys each attack, his lightsaber a blur of crimson death. Then he stops deflecting and attacks. The Sith Lord moves with terrifying speed, closing the distance, lightsaber sweeping in killing arcs. Batman dodges by centimeters, his cape smoldering where the blade passes, gauntlets sparking as he blocks with reinforced armor. They trade blows, lightsaber against armored fists. Force pushes against grappling line escapes. Batman lands a solid strike to Vader's respirator. Vader retaliates with a Force-enhanced backhand that sends Batman crashing through a control console. Batman rises slowly, tasting blood inside his cowl. 3 ribs cracked, possible concussion. Suit integrity at 60%. Vader approaches, his breathing labored from exertion and damage to his respirator's air filtration. They've both taken punishment, but only one of them needs to win this fight. Vader to prove Imperial supremacy. Batman just needs to survive and prove the Empire isn't invincible. He triggers his final contingency. The reactor cores activate on emergency override, not exploding but flooding the chamber with radiation that forces Vader's suit sensors to redline. In the confusion of alarms and flashing lights, Batman deploys his last smoke screen and grapples through an exhaust vent too small for Vader's bulk. The Sith Lord's roar of frustration echoes through the entire facility. That man escapes into the Geonosis wastes, wounded but alive. Vader stands in the ruins, breathing heavily, tasting defeat for the first time in years. The news spreads across the galaxy like wildfire through dry grass. Imperial censors try to contain it, but the story is too big, too impossible to suppress completely. Darth Vader, the Emperor's enforcer, who's executed entire rebel cells and hunted Jedi to extinction, fought the Wraith on Geonosis and failed to capture him. Holonet forums explode with speculation, despite Imperial monitoring. Cantinas from Coruscant to Tatooine buzz with whispered conversations. You sit in one such cantina on Ord Mantell, nursing a drink while listening to spacers and smugglers debate what it means. Some claim the Wraith must be a Jedi Master in hiding. Others insist he's a new rebel superweapon. A few suggest something darker, that he's a demon, a force of vengeance the galaxy itself has summoned against the Empire's crimes. Mon Mothma convenes an emergency session of rebel leadership aboard the medical frigate Haven. Princess Leia, General Rekan, Admiral Akbar, and a dozen other commanders gather around the holotable, their expressions a mix of hope and concern. Captain Rex presents Batman's latest intelligence dump, detailed schematics of the new Imperial Star Destroyer variant, encryption codes for sector command communications, personnel files on high-ranking officers. This is unprecedented, Admiral Akbar says, his Mon Calamari eyes wide. This intelligence alone could save thousands of rebel lives, enable operations we've only dreamed of. But Leia's expression remains troubled. He also engaged Vader directly and survived. That means the Empire will escalate. Vader doesn't tolerate failure. We need to prepare for what comes next. The Empire's response is exactly what Leia predicted. Emperor Palpatine issues a classified directive that filters down through Imperial command. The Wraith is now the highest priority target in the galaxy, superseding even rebel leadership. The bounty increases to 10 million credits, enough to buy a small fleet. Bounty hunters from every corner of known space converge on last known sighting locations. Boba Fett receives a personal commission from Vader himself, the Sith Lord's mechanical voice promising additional payment beyond the posted bounty. But it's not just bounty hunters. The Emperor activates assets the galaxy hasn't seen since the Clone Wars advanced Inquisitors from the fortress on Nurk, experimental Dark Troopers, even rumored Sith artifacts that can track Force anomalies. The Empire will spend any resource, pay any price to eliminate this threat. Batman recuperates in a rebel medical facility hidden in an asteroid field, his injuries more severe than he initially assessed. Broken ribs, internal bruising, second-degree burns along his left arm where Vader's lightsaber came too close. A rebel medic, a former Republic doctor named Colonia, treats him with a combination of bacterotherapy and conventional medicine. "You're lucky to be alive," she says, scanning his injuries with a medical tricorder. Vader's killed Jedi Masters with less effort than he put into fighting you. Whatever you did to survive, you can't count on it working twice. That man knows she's right. His suit protected him, his tactics brought advantages, but ultimately he survived because Vader underestimated him. That won't happen again. Next time, the Sith Lord will bring overwhelming force and accept no distractions. The philosophical implications ripple through Force-sensitive communities. On Dagobah, Master Yoda meditates on the disturbance, his ancient mind troubled by paradoxes. A being who exists outside the Force has injured Vader, the most powerful dark side user besides the Emperor. What does this mean for the prophecy of the Chosen One? What does it mean for the Force's will? Luke Skywalker, training in the swamps, senses his master's concern. Master Yoda, is this wraith a threat to the rebellion? Yoda's ears droop thoughtfully. A threat? Perhaps. An opportunity. Also perhaps. Clouded. The future is. This anomaly. Predicted. The Force cannot. Dangerous. That makes him. But also free. Free from destiny. From prophecy. From the chains that bind Jedi and Sith alike. The old master's eyes gleam with something between fear and fascination. Batman's alliance with the rebellion deepens out of necessity. He can't fight the Empire alone. Not with Vader now personally invested in hunting him. Not with the full weight of Imperial resources mobilized. He meets with Mon Mothma and Leia via secure hologram, his injuries hidden beneath his armor. The Empire will come for your safe houses, he warns. They'll assume you're harboring me. You need to disperse, go dark, change every protocol. Leia nods, her diplomatic training showing in her composed response, despite the gravity of his words. We've survived Imperial crackdowns before, but you're right, this will be different. Vader doesn't just want to defeat the rebellion anymore. He wants you, and he'll burn entire systems to find you. The question emerges in the meeting that no one wants to voice but everyone is thinking. General Rekan finally says it. Should we distance ourselves from the Wraith for the rebellion's survival? The room goes silent. It's pragmatic military thinking. Cut loose the asset that draws too much heat. But before Mon Mothma can respond, Captain Rex stands. With respect, General, that's coward's talk. The Wraith has provided more actionable intelligence in 3 months than our networks gathered in a year. He's made the Empire afraid, actually afraid, for the first time since Yavin. You want to abandon him because he's too effective, because the Empire finally notices us as a threat. Rex's scarred face hardens. I've fought beside Jedi, clones and heroes. The Wraith is all three. We don't abandon our own. The vote is close, but ultimately the rebellion commits. They'll support Batman's operations, provide intelligence and logistics, maintain the alliance. But privately, commanders begin developing contingency plans for when, not if, Vader traces the connection. Princess Leia stays on the holoscreen after others disconnect, her expression grave. You should know, she says quietly. My father served with Vader during the Clone Wars, before he became what he is now. My father said he was the best warrior he ever saw, relentless, brilliant, and utterly without mercy. Once you earned his personal attention, you have that attention now. Please be careful. Batman's white eyes glow in the hologram's blue light. I've fought monsters before, Princess. Vader's just another predator wearing a different mask. But as the transmission ends, he touches his injured ribs and remembers the raw power of that Force choke. The overwhelming presence of the dark side made manifest. Vader isn't just another monster. He's something far more dangerous. Emperor Palpatine gazes from his throne room on Coruscant, the city planet's endless towers stretching to the horizon like metal teeth. You've never seen the Emperor in person, but the rebellion's intelligence files paint a picture of ancient malevolence. A being who orchestrated the Clone Wars, manipulated the Senate, and transformed a democracy into a totalitarian empire through pure manipulation and dark side mastery. Now his yellow eyes narrow as he contemplates the Wraith problem. Vader's failure on Geonosis represents more than a tactical setback. It represents a crack in the fundamental order Palpatine has established, that the Sith are supreme, that the Force grants ultimate power, that nothing can challenge his empire's dominion. This anomaly threatens that narrative, and narratives, Palpatine knows, are everything. Lord Vader. The Emperor's voice drips with false sympathy as the Dark Lord kneels before him. Your injuries from Geonosis are extensive. Perhaps this task exceeds even your considerable abilities. Vader's respirator quickens. Anger, shame, determination flooding through him. I will find the Wraith, my master. He cannot hide forever. Palpatine's skeletal fingers drum on his throne's armrest. Hide? No, but this creature doesn't hide. It adapts, it learns, it exists outside the Force's influence, which means outside our primary advantage. We must approach this differently. The Emperor rises, his robes rustling like dry leaves. I have consulted the Sith archives. There are other methods, ancient techniques for binding beings to one's will. But first, we must understand what this Wraith truly is. The Emperor's plan unfolds with characteristic cunning. Rather than hunting Batman directly, he targets the rebel networks supporting him. Imperial Star Destroyers blockade entire systems where the Wraith operated. Stormtroopers conduct mass arrests in civilian populations, demanding information under threat of execution. The message is clear: cooperate or die. On Ryloth, an entire village is massacred when no one provides intelligence on rebel safe houses. On Lothal, Imperial Governor Price executes 50 civilians daily until someone betrays a rebel contact. It's psychological warfare at galactic scale, using innocent lives to bait Batman into exposing himself. And it works, because Batman, unlike many in this galaxy hardened by decades of war, cannot ignore civilian suffering. Batman receives the reports on Ryloth with cold fury. 53 civilians executed, women, children, elderly, slaughtered to force information about his location. The rebellion urges caution. Mon Mothma's voice on the encrypted channel is strained but firm. This is what the Empire does. They use our compassion against us. If you respond, you're playing into their trap. Sometimes, we have to let people die to save more people later. Batman cuts the transmission without responding. He's heard that logic before. From Ra's al Ghul, from Amanda Waller, from every pragmatic strategist who sacrifices the few for the many. He rejected it in Gotham. He'll reject it here, even if it costs him everything, even if it's exactly what Palpatine wants. The rescue operation on Ryloth is audacious to the point of insanity. Batman drops from low orbit in a stolen Imperial shuttle, using forged codes and rebel-provided intelligence to reach the planet's surface. The execution site is a public square in Lesu, the capital city, where Governor Orn Freetar has assembled 500 civilians for mass execution. Unless Wraith surrenders, stormtroopers ring the square. TST walkers patrol the perimeter. Probe droids monitor from above, and in the center, chained and kneeling, are families whose only crime was living where Batman operated. Ty's amplified voice booms across the square. The Wraith has 1 hour to surrender. For every minute past that deadline, 10 will die. Their blood is on his hands. Batman strikes 30 minutes early. Smoke bombs detonate simultaneously across the square, deployed by rebel agents infiltrated into the crowd. Stormtroopers fire blindly into the chaos. ST pilots activate thermal sensors, but Batman's suit masks his heat signature. He moves through the smoke like a predator, systematically disabling guards, releasing prisoners, directing civilians toward extraction points where rebel speeders wait. An AT-ST fires, its chin-mounted blasters carving through a building. Batman grapples onto its head, plants explosive gel on sensor clusters, and drops. The walker stumbles, blind, controlled detonation crippling its legs. Governor Tyre flees toward his palace, guards surrounding him. He doesn't make it. Batman drops from above, a silent shadow that scatters bodyguards like leaves. Tyre finds himself face to face with glowing white eyes and a voice like death. Tell the Emperor, I'm not hiding. The escape is barely controlled chaos. Rebel transports evacuate civilians, while TIE fighters scream overhead. Batman provides covering fire with captured Imperial weapons, directing evacuation routes while dodging blaster bolts that superheat the air around him. A TIE bomber's payload explodes close enough to throw him through a market stall, his armor cracked, ears ringing from concussive force. But he keeps moving, keeps fighting, keeps ensuring every civilian reaches safety. Captain Rex's voice crackles over his comlink. Wraith, we have everyone. Get to the extraction point now. Batman sprints through burning streets, grappling between buildings as Star Destroyers move into orbital bombardment position. He reaches the last transport as its engines ignite, diving through the closing ramp as turbo laser fire turns the landing pad to molten glass. Aboard the rebel frigate in hyperspace, medics treat evacuated civilians, while Batman stands in the cargo bay, his suit smoking from blaster hits and thermal damage. Mon Mothma's hologram appears, her expression unreadable. You saved 500 people today. You also confirmed to the Empire that targeting civilians will draw you out. They'll do this on every world you've operated on. Thousands will die because you showed them your weakness. Batman removes his cowl, revealing Bruce Wayne's bloodied face for the first time to rebel leadership. They would have killed those people anyway, he says quietly. The Empire doesn't make threats, they make examples. I'd rather die fighting to save people than live with letting them die for strategy. Mon Mothma studies his face for a long moment. Then unexpectedly, she nods. Perhaps that's why we need you. Because you still believe in absolutes. Because you haven't been worn down by this war's moral compromises. But on Coruscant, the Emperor watches surveillance footage of the Ryloth rescue with satisfaction. He sees what others don't. Batman's injuries, his exhaustion, the strain of fighting an entire empire. Most importantly, he sees the pattern. The Wraith will sacrifice himself to save innocence. That's not a weakness in this galaxy, that's a fatal flaw. Palpatine's smile is terrible to behold. Increase civilian targeting in every sector the Wraith has operated. He commands Admiral Ozzel not to kill them, to force him to spread himself thin saving them. Break him through exhaustion, force him to choose who lives and who dies. And when he's weakened, when he's finally vulnerable, the Emperor's eyes glow with dark side power. Then we spring the true trap, and Lord Vader will have his prize.